What's going on, everybody? Welcome to my channel. We're diving into a very low stakes tournament here, trying to get an idea of where we are. Just wanted to test out the system, see what I can get uploaded here, get a little bit of good footage for you. So we start out here with Ace King offsuit. Great drawing cards. I'm definitely going to be raising this up. We already got two callers, a small blind call, so we're going to have to raise this up. Looking to go probably about a pot size bet here. So 1500 seems a little standard for a pot size bet when you got these many limpers behind. So definitely going to raise it up. And we get 1, 2 callers, and then as you can see, we got the small blind thinking about it. I was thinking they were going to jam, but then they went ahead and just called. Now, when you get a flop like this, paired board, low pair, threes, nobody should really have a three. Possibly have some type of 8x, but I'm going with the idea knowing that a lot of these people in these lower stakes are very timid. So I went ahead and jammed on them. Definitely, with Ace King, why not? Especially early on in the tournament. Now, I missed the first like 30-40 minutes of this tournament because my screen record just wasn't working well. But then we get a few hands later, chip down just a tad bit. Looking here at pocket sevens, already got one limper. Chicken 89. He's going to show up a few times in this video here, but go ahead. I'll raise it up again. Try to get him up off their hands here. Pocket sevens. Chicken 89. He's coming along for the ride. So then we flop top set. Wonderful. So I'm going to go for a small bet here. I don't want to go too big. I want to keep in any bluffs or draws he might have. So he comes along for the ride. Then we get an 8. Not really concerning. It's a break. 8 of clubs. Flush draw is still on the board. So I definitely want to charge him if that's what he's going for. Just to see. Like I said. Ooh, then he jams on me. Now we got to go all in with it. I know he doesn't have anything. Ace 6. He was drawing to nothing. It wasn't even suited. So go ahead and get a nice little double up there. The very next hand. And we're getting Ace King offsuit again. So it looks like we're heating up here. We definitely got some good hands coming to us. Already got one limper under the gun. Definitely got to be cautious when people are limping under the gun in these lower stakes. They will try to limp aces and try to trap people. But nevertheless, we're still going to raise it up. We got Ace King on the button. So here we go. Once again, the same two people that called on the first Ace King call again. And we flop top pair, top kicker for that pair. So I'm going to have to bet out on this flop. I mean, being that I'm the button, I probably would be c-betting on this flop a lot. I went a little bit bigger than I probably should have, but we still get a caller coming along. So we get a brick. The 2 is definitely a brick, but I'm still trying to target any of those queen-jack holdings, maybe a king-queen looking for the jack. So I don't want him to catch me on the river. He comes along. River's a brick. He checks again. I don't see how he could possibly have anything or I could get any value out of it. So I just check it behind. Ace King wins it. So then we get into this 4-5 suited hand. I like the suited connectors. I get a whole lot of suited connectors all the time. So it's one thing that I really battle with. And I'm trying to get away from a lot of suited connectors. And as you can see, I decided to get away from that one when we got Phasey Man going all in. So definitely wanted to you know, try to practice a little bit of patience. I'm obviously the chip leader here, so there's no need to go in for any crazy bets with things that, you know, may or may not be good. And as you can see, I wouldn't have been dealing with anything but a backdoor flush draw anyway. But I left this in here just to show like I can get away from hands when I need to. Get a lot of calls on here, so it's real interesting to see what they're coming out with. You see, North Hope is just a calling station. He'll call damn near anything, but he ends up getting it. So then we come on, following through next hand to the pocket queens. Got the ladies on deck. So under the gun, thinking about it, I'm sitting here in the hijack position. Then we get a raise from the +2 or the low jack, so we're going to have to bump this up a little bit. Wanted to get a nice chunky bet in there just simply because with an under the gun raise or under the gun +1 raise like that, he's probably sitting pretty strong. Then we get a 10,000, an over bet, a 3 bet, or a 4 bet from the button. And then we get a jam. So now I'm sitting here thinking to myself, okay, I'm up against ace king, maybe pocket aces, but like I said, in these lower stakes, they'll jam a lot of garbage. So I wanted to overbet, maybe I can get the button off his hand. But then, as we can see, he calls. So we flip it, queens versus jacks versus ace king. I turn the set. Well, I turn the full house. The set gives me the full house because we had 9-9 on the river, and I get 2 of them out. So now I'm rolling high, rolling big, and then we come into a new hand where I get pocket kings. Now, as you can see, in this tournament, I've been rolling pretty good. The cards have been coming my way, the flops have been good, and the runouts have just been perfect. So go ahead and I bump this up again. Pot size bet roughly. I get 1 caller here from the low jack. He checks. I decide to bet this flop. I really don't have to, especially with it being a paired board with 8s. Those 8s are definitely better for him in his range. So I probably should have checked that back. But, you know, just trying to build a little bit of a pot, especially when I got kings. I check here, it goes check, check on the turn, and then you get the club that comes in that finishes the flush draw, but I got a full house. I'm not scared of no flushes. So I'm going to go ahead and bet for some value here. Hopefully he has something, but as you can see, he was short stacked. He's not going to call that off, but that was just a beautiful run out for me once again. The cards are just hitting. So now maybe a hand or 2 later, as you can see, Chicken 89 back on my table once again. We're a little further in the tournament, but registration is still open. Registration normally closes after round 11, so you're talking about, you know, when the blinds get up to about 1,500, 2,000 for the big blind. So registration's still open. Threw out a nice little bet on the flop, trying to get some folds, but Chicken 89, he ain't having it. So he throws out a bet, he leads into me. I go ahead and I call it because once again I have a little bit of equity, not a lot, got 2 overs. And then I turn a gut shot. Now with a bet like that, Chicken 89's repping a big hand. He probably was drawn to the ace, more than likely. It's just too much for me. I gotta fold. And then we're coming back around. Once again, the cards are still hitting for us. As you can see, the stack is definitely looking good right now. Under the gun now, ace-9 of clubs. This is definitely somewhere closer to the lower end of my range, but I definitely wanted to see if we can try to get a few fold outs, which we did. So Good bet. And in these lower tournaments, as you can see, I'm going normally about a 2.5. I come to find that's pretty much the magic number, because anything over a 2.5, if they're calling or raising over that, they probably have a pretty strong hand, especially at the lower stakes tournaments. 2.5 seems to be it. 2x usually doesn't get the job done. A lot of people will just peel just to see what they get on the river. And as you can see, we're winning some pots pre-flop, which is always good. Getting those antes, getting those blinds. You love to see it. Queen 9 offsuit. We get the +1 coming in. Then we got chicken 89 coming in as well in the low jack for another limp. Now with all these limps, once again, I'm thinking to myself, we need to raise this up. There's a lot of dead money in the pot. We got the big blind sitting out, so that's clearly dead money. It's time to bump it up a little bit, see where they're at. So 2.5, as you can see. Not going to go crazy with it, but 2.5 is good. I could have went for a pot size bet there, just because we did have 2 limpers behind, but and they didn't raise to try to get the big blind who's sitting out. So I check because I'm out of position. Checks around. Now the board pairs. I check again, just to see what we're going to get into. I really am curious to what they have. Now, with both of them limping, and then check, flop, and turn, at this point, I don't think they really have much, so I'm going to take my queen to the river, thinking I might have some value here, but as we can see, he slow played his middle pair from the flop. He had 7, so I'm glad I didn't bet into him. A lot of times, even when in these low stakes tournaments, even when they have a losing hand, if they make a hand, they'll stick around with it. So sometimes it's good to use a little bit of patience. But a few hands later, as you can see, boom, ace jack offsuit, looking good. I'm in the hijack position here. Got to raise it up once again. 2.5. We're still on the 4-8 level. And once again, chicken 89 coming right along for the ride. So chicken 89 in the big blind, first act. Bets out a chunky bet. Now with a connected board like this, yeah, I got 2 overs, but I'm sitting and debating to myself, because with a connected board like this, I'm not looking pretty. So I end up just going ahead and folding. I think that was just a disciplined fold. He's not going to be betting out that much with at least a good amount of equity. Maybe he might have had jack 10, even though I had a jack to block it, or something of that suit. Now I'm under the gun with queen 9 of diamonds. Now normally I try to play more GTO strategy and don't go anything less than pocket or suited 10s when I'm under the gun, but queen 9 of diamonds was looking kind of pretty to me, so I went ahead and raised up, but then we got 2 callers from the small blind and the big blind, so that's not good. So this board definitely favors them way more. Now, we get a continuation from the small blind. He leads out into 2 players, so that seems pretty strong, but I definitely want to test him, especially being the large stack at the table. So I go ahead, I about 6x it just to see. Small blind, he gives up on his, but then you see the big blind come along. Now, there are some 8x holdings that they can have. The big blind is going to have a bunch of junk just because, you know, he's just defending his blinds. But then when he overbets all in, and I should have noticed that, I should have known he had something. So boom, he had the he had the 8, turn trips, and then rivered a flush. So That was just how the game goes. Try to get greedy, it's going to bite you back. But here we go into a new hand, chip down some at 50K. Let's see what we can get into here. Waiting on the under the gun to make a decision. Sometimes it can be a little slow here, but as you can see, I'm patiently waiting. I got ace queen offsuit in the hijack. We're sitting pretty. We're good. So it folds to me. I'm definitely bumping it up. Now I go a little bit chunkier. I go 3x instead of the 2.5. So I still got Chicken 89. I know he's a person who's going to call off a lot of things pre-flop. So I'm trying to target him because I know I can milk him for a lot of money. Especially at this point, I've been playing with him the whole tournament. He's been on my table 3-4 times now. So at this point, I'm kind of familiar with the way he plays and how he bets. So I'm just trying to milk him for whatever he's got. But he actually doesn't come along here. But I still flop top pair, queen kicker. Some backdoor straight draws if depending on what I'm cramping has. So I'm gonna put a little bet out there. I definitely wanna get him to not realize his equity, and with the 9, that really doesn't help me a lot, and that does bring in more possibilities. But now what I want to do is I want to try to isolate and remove any type of, potential straights he's on, really scare him. But he calls right away. He turned the straight. I didn't think he had 6-10, but I did think he might have had something with a Jack X holding or 10X holding. So I wanted to try to, make sure he didn't realize his equity, but he already did. So it comes and it goes. And as you can see, we've chipped down a lot down from 90K that we were at earlier. So now I'm behind. I'm trying to fight for my life here, trying to get in and get good. So luckily the cards are still hitting for us, even though, I haven't had all the runouts that I'm supposed to get, but that's poker. I'm not going to get every runout. But we're looking at the pocket jacks, the jiggities. So I raise it up under the gun. And it goes down without fail. So now we got King 7 in the big blind offsuit. We get an under the gun jam, which seems really strong, but he has less than 10 big blinds. Debating if I'm going to call it. And then we get the hijack here. He's debating his options. And he's going to go ahead jam as well for less. So now I could take out 2 people with it, but when it folds to me, I decide to just fold, get out of the way. And as you can see, they had some strong hands, but with that river, I would have had the straight. So, missed an opportunity to knock 2 people out, but oh well. We pick up a better king here with King 9 suited, King of diamonds, 9 of diamonds. And the same person who just won the last hand, he just got these chips and he makes a pretty hefty bet under the gun, being that there's no small blind because he just knocked him out. So I think I'm going to get a little bit creative. He just got these chips. Maybe he's not trying to get rid of them. I know I have a big stack behind me, but he's been playing very passive. So me jamming, I think he's not going to call, which he doesn't. He folds. And now, to risk your tournament life, and you bet so big under the gun, now I'm putting you to the test. And he's going to go ahead and fold here. I get a quick 7,200, chip it up. And now the very next hand, or two hands later, because now he's the button. Looking at king queen, still getting good cards. Got chicken in the big blind. I'm gonna go ahead bump it up to 2.5. Try to see if we can get some quick cash off this one. But he calls me. But then we flop top pair. Now we could have called with something like a queen jack, ace queen suited, king queen suited, but I have the king and the queen, so we block a lot of those. He could only really have king queen of diamonds suited. So I throw a bet out there, trying to bump him off some equity from his draws, maybe his ace highs, but then he raises me. So I say, F it. Let's go all in. I got top pair. I got a good kicker. Unless he has ace queen, I should be good. He thinks about it. He's got the money behind. He's sweating. But then he calls it. And he flips king 6 offsuit. Bottom pair. He calls an all in. Wow. Well, I'll take those chips. I'm back up to 71. Now I got queen 9 of hearts. Now this made me think about my hand earlier with queen 9 of diamonds. I didn't want to make the same mistake. I'm playing against the exact same people in the same positions. So I bumped it up a little more than 2.5 like I normally would. I want to get them to sweat. I want them to fold out their junk. I don't want them to catch trips like he did last time. So I bump it up once again. Under the gun, I don't like raising that light, but when I'm suited, when it still can get us straight, I'm going to try it. But then, very next hand, we get queen 4 of hearts, getting a lot of suited queen X hands. But I'm sitting in the big blind, 2,500 already in there, 5,500 is the pot. So when we get a flat call from the small blind, we gotta, I want to raise it up, but I decide to flat. And I'm glad I flatted, because now we flop 2 pair. Almost certainly have the best hand, unless he had pocket 8s or pocket 4s, but we blocked the pocket 4s, and if he had pocket 8s pre-flop, he would have raised. Most he could possibly be on is a flush draw. He donks into me for 2,500 for one big blind, so I decided to raise it up. Not too much, but I definitely want to give him good odds to call here. And he doesn't call. He didn't have anything, so we take that down. Quick pot. Very next hand, we get ace deuce offsuit in the small blind. It's folded around to the button. And I'm debating on what I'm going to do depending on him. And he folds, so now I got to raise it up. Got to get some of this dead money out the pot. I go ahead, 2.5 it to 10K. And then he raises me. So now I'm thinking, okay, he has to have something good, but it's only an extra 7, 8K more to go. So I call it. The flop is garbage, so I have to check. Even though I got a gut shot to the wheel with a bet like that on the flop, on the pre-flop and the flop, I just can't bring myself to call it. I gotta fold that. Look for a better spot. And now, very next hand, on the button, king 5 offsuit. Not a good hand. But for a very slight second, I did think about re-jamming this hand over the under the gun raise, but then I looked at the stacks to my left, and I said that is not a good idea. So, to preserve myself, I'll go ahead and fold. But nonetheless, this is a very interesting hand that plays out. Same guy had got into the hand previously, PK. he's just leading out big. And it's curious to me why he's leading out so strong on these hands, especially when the flops are just so terrible. But his line of betting just doesn't seem right to me. And I'm just curious to see exactly what it is that he has. So now, you get Waters to jam all in on him. Surely he's going to fold. Unless he has a set or an ace-high flush draw. But he has to fold. Nope. He calls it. With Jack-9 offsuit against pocket aces. Turns the set. Takes him down. Not completely out, but he's definitely down. Down to 11K. And I'm sitting just barely over 11, 12 big blinds. 14 big blinds. Ace, queen, offsuit. Gotta bump it up. Don't know what to bump it up. I got two big stacks behind me. I say screw it, let's go ahead and jam it. We get PK to go in with his scraps. And then we get the big stacks to fold. So now, ace queen versus king 8. I flop higher pair, but then he rivers the trips. Talk about luck. But it's cool. On to the next one. I got ace 10. Big blind. We get chicken little to go ahead and limp in here. Then we get a jam from the button. I'm thinking ace 10, jam from the button. I'm getting low. I don't have very many blinds left. This is as good as any hand to get it in. He's probably jamming over top with maybe a middle to low pocket pair. I go ahead and I get it in. Chicken folds in. What do you know? Low pocket pair, 8s. But the board runs out all low cards. Not an ace, not a 10. And that's the end of my tournament. There you have it. Very low stakes tournament, but I still placed in the money. See for that.